when it gets dispersed from that federal level,
Right.
how does Missouri, I guess, get its part of the money? Is it evenly spread throughout the states?
Yeah, one of the main things is there's a National Breast and Cervical Cancer Early Detection Program, and that's one of the big funders that comes to the state of Missouri. And here in Missouri, we have a program called the Show Me Healthy Women program, and that receives some of those federal dollars. And then those monies that come to Missouri are then dispersed out to help underinsured and uninsured women across the state of Missouri get early detection tests. And we've seen, obviously, that early detection is a key in helping people survive cancer. So that federal funding that they're voting for in Washington, D.C. is going to come directly to Missouri. And then through the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, and the National Cancer Institute at the federal level, those dollars will come to research facilities like WashU and other places. And those obviously have an economic impact as well. When they're funding researchers, they are hiring clinical folks to work with them. They're buying supplies for their labs, doing those types of things. So that federal money really does, and we're talking billions of dollars that trickle down to the states. So
part of that, and Karen talked about it, the research is so important.
Right.
The early preventative type things are important also, but the research in terms of trying experimental type things, I think that's what he went through, the last gentleman that you were talking about. Is that part of, I guess when it comes to he had nothing else to do, and he goes and has this, is that part of what is being funded, the experimental, the new things, I guess I'm trying to say?
yeah, and in fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because the American Cancer Society, we fund researchers as well. The federal government, the funding that they do for researchers is a little more for established researchers. The American Cancer Society, we really like to try to find those cutting edge, new folks who are coming up with brand new ideas, and we like to fund those folks and give them an opportunity to further theirs. You know, I actually had a research breakfast this morning, and a drug like Gleevec that's helping a lot of people now, it took almost 90 years from the very beginnings of it to get to a place where it could actually help people. So for that, funding needs to be steady throughout the process. You can't start to develop a drug and then stop in the middle because you lost funding and then just pick it up again there. It goes all the way back to the beginning. So that steady flow of funding for those folks is really important. But the American Cancer Society likes to reach out to those new and cutting edge researchers.
So we've talked about the trickle down per se type funding. What about funding that's raised within the community, like with the Relay for Life? And does that stay in Missouri, and where does that go to? Does that go towards this research? And
well, I think Tim can answer that better than I do, but I do know that the money that we raise here in Missouri through those different efforts, that does stay within our states. Now, I'm not sure how much of that does go throughout the rest of the organization, but I think Tim could answer that better than me.
Yeah, the Relay for Life money, most of that stays local. That's local money that people are raising in the Relay for Life events, and those will stay local with, you know, Karen talked about the programs that she's involved with, the Look Good, Feel Better programs. Of course, we have the Hope Lodge here in St. Louis. Some funding goes to those types of things. So we have a lot of different programs that locally can help people, and that's what their local Relay for Lives are about.
you'll look at the word grassroots. Explain on, per se, your side of the fence,
Sure.
what that word means for the American Cancer Society.
Yeah, it really means just trying to get as many people as far across the state. That's kind of what the grassroots that we talk about. We want it to be spread across the state. We don't want just advocates in Kansas City and St. Louis. We want it in small towns all across, and they're affecting everything from local ordinances related to smoke-free, in Jeff City, all the way up to the federal government. And the more of those folks that we can have throughout the state, the louder our voice is going to be. And so we want it to kind of grow. Like now, with no rain here in Missouri, our grass isn't growing so well, but with our volunteer structure, we want to continue to grow it all across the state. And it really, really does make a difference.
I think when a lot of people think of the Cancer Society, they think of just this one unit. But when you look at all the different things that your organization does, as far as research and breast cancer prevention, there's a multitude of different entities that fall under that ACS title.
Are you looking at me for an answer?
I know you're involved in so many of the different layers of this.
Because of the fact that ACS, I think when you start looking at the pies that they have out there that shows how much money goes towards this and this, the staff doesn't get enough. I have to say, they have some of the best training for their staff, and a lot of good people work for the American Cancer Society and Cancer Action Network. But the monies that they put into that pie go to so many different things, like Hope Lodge. What a wonderful place. We have, access to one right here in St. Louis down on Lindell. The programs that they go out and they actually get people like myself to volunteer to be part of. The Look Good Feel Better program was something that was started with the National Cosmetology Association. The American Cancer Society looked at that and said, that looks pretty good, let's get involved with that. And we joined together back 20 years ago. Like I said, I've been a volunteer with the American Cancer Society for some 30 years now. So there's just so much to it. I look at ACS as this all-encompassing. The advocacy side right now is really important to me because I'm at that place where I have the time for it now. That I can be even more vocal with friends and with customers and with family members and for just doing something like this, and we really appreciate you letting us take some time to put the word out there about how important advocacy is. You don't have to be a legislator. You don't have to be somebody that can talk straight up to a legislator. Talk to the people in their offices, give them a call. If they want some information, like Tim said, we have all kinds of emails and all kinds of social media that we can get the word out. And then if somebody says, well, I really can't write a very good letter, let me give you a farm letter. Let you kind of look at what's going on in what we're going to be discussing. And if you want to just go to your legislator's office and talk to their secretary and say, hey, I live in this area and this is really important. I need some help from my legislators to help fund Show Me Healthy Women. Show Me Healthy Women, we had worked for years to get that in place. Got it in place, and then Missouri started doing some cuts. We got a message, saying, hey, when we get down to Legislative Day down in Jeff City, we're going to have to fight really hard to make sure that funding stays in place, because it was one of those that could have been cut. It was not cut by a long stretch, but because so many people were so vocal, and we came in our little uniforms with our logo on it. When we go to Washington, I can guarantee you there'll be somebody there from each congressional district throughout the United States. And you see us in the halls. We all have on the same kind of blue shirts that we wore last year. And people pay attention, even coaches with cancer. I'm not sure if they're going to do theirs this year. Yep. But, Matt Brown from Kansas City, he joined us in Claire McCaskill's office, and he was just in awe over how strong our unit was of our just little group from Missouri, from all the it was 9, now 8 congressional districts. But we're there in numbers to speak about the things that are really important for the people of Missouri.
Tim, as far as events, programs you have going on right now and in the near future, what would you like people to know about?
Yeah, we'd always like people to get involved with ACSCAN. If they're interested, they can go to the website, acscan.org. They can get a lot of information there on how to join, how to get involved here in Missouri. My contact information is there. But as we mentioned, we also work very closely with the American Cancer Society, and they're making strides against breast cancer. Walk is coming up actually on October 27th at Forest Park. So if people are interested in that, they can just do a Google search for Making Strides Against Breast Cancer St. Louis, and it'll provide them all the information. I know they would really love to have a good group of folks to come join for that as well.
And what about getting involved? So many people with families and work and the pressures of life right now say, I don't even have an hour a week to get involved. What are some of the things that they can do if they become a volunteer?
Yeah, we try to, like I said before, we try to make it as simple as possible. And really, a click of the mouse is the easiest thing that they can do. So if they become an ACSCAN member, they'll start to get emails from us. If they take 5 minutes a day, not even 5 minutes probably, to read the email, it will educate them on the issue. It will be a quick couple paragraphs about an issue that's of importance. If they're interested in it, they can click here, put in their information, and send that information off to their elected officials. So we really do, we don't expect anybody to become an expert on any of these issues. That's for us to do. But those voices and those emails and those phone calls that do go into those offices, if I go into a legislator's office, they'll be very nice and they'll sit down with me and they'll listen to me. But when I can bring or when I go in and they've already received 50 or 60 emails or 20 or 30 phone calls, it really makes a difference.
Karen, you've been with the organization as a volunteer for a long time and work with them. Your advice to somebody sitting out there in terms of just volunteering in general?
Excuse me, my allergies are horrible. Get involved. I'm going to have to get a drink of water, sorry.
That's all right. As far as when you talk about Karen, there's so many people out there who volunteer their times, who give of themselves, and not only 5 minutes a week, but some people really delve into doing the kind of things that Karen does. What would, from the ACS, what would you say to people like that?
Well, we always say thank you to our volunteers, obviously, but we want to, again, if they're willing to take the time, we understand that it's a volunteer. And so any amount of time that they're able to give, we very much appreciate. We obviously understand that they have jobs and families and soccer games and all the other stuff that's going on. But if they're able to just take a few minutes, especially if it's something that they're really passionate about, we talked about how cancer affects just about everyone, and everyone has a story. And so just taking those few minutes, as I mentioned, an email or anything like that, a petition that they're willing to sign. We're going to have about 500 or so petitions that we've had signed at different events throughout the year that we're going to take with us to Washington, D.C. So when we walk into a member of Congress's office and we're able to lay a stack of 500 petitions, it's not only Karen and I walking into that office, but it's 500 folks from Missouri that are coming along with us with the same message.
All right, Karen, let's try that again.
I hope so. These allergies are horrible.
Your advice, because I know you get, and I can just tell it in Tim's voice as far as how passionate you are about what you do and how passionate you are, you become very connected to these type of issues.
You do, and again, it's just talking to people in general. Talk to your family members. I talked to you one day and got you involved, and you came, again, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, and sometimes it just takes that one little voice. That passion that Karen had got me involved. From the first day I set foot, and this was probably 15 years ago for the County Relay for Life, I went to it and I was hooked. I mean, I knew this was something I wanted to be involved in. I saw the emotion, the passion of the families that were involved, and I had to be part of it. And
it's every year every time talking about the American Cancer Society. I'm going to do it here with my allergies, but excuse me, you do have to get involved because there's so much out there that you can be part of. You can be part of the American Cancer Society Relay for Life. You can call and make phone calls. Help by making luminarias at an event. Volunteer down at Hope Lodge. Make a phone call down there and ask the people that are running the offices on Lindell, what can I do to be involved? Can I help drive people to the hospital that need help getting, to their appointments? There's a ton of stuff to do.
As we wrap things up, Tim, I'm going to throw the floor over to yourself there. What would you want to wrap up and let everybody know about what you do and what ACS and ACSCAN do?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what you said at the very beginning, Randy, and that is that, if you just take the time to get involved, a lot of people aren't sure that their involvement will really make a difference. I can tell you, and Karen can tell you, we've sat in those meetings before. It does make a difference. And so if people are willing to join, again, they can go to ACSCAN.org. They can go to ACS.org if they want to get involved in the Making Strides or the Relay for Life in their local area. They can go to those. But just get involved, because I can promise you, it really does make a difference.
A lot of people think about volunteering time and money and donating during the holidays, but they sometimes forget about the rest of the year. This is something that you can be part of every day of the year.
Absolutely. And like I said, we try to keep in constant contact with our advocacy volunteers and let them know when an issue of importance is coming up. Again, whether that's local, state, or federal, they'll get a quick email from us. It'll educate them on it, ask them to click here, fill in their information, and get that message off to their elected officials. And again, it will make a difference. And when we follow up on those issues, we hear it from those elected officials. You know what? I got 20 emails from folks in my district about this. I'm glad you came in and helped educate me on it.
About a minute left here. You guys are getting ready to go on a trip.
Right.
To talk exactly about what we talked about today. Let the folks out there know when you're going and what's
September
on the agenda.
12th and the 15th, we're going to be in Washington, D.C., and we will be up there for one whole big legislative day. We will be on the Hill. We'll be on one side and we'll be on the other side. We're going to be visiting our senators, and everybody's going to be visiting their Congress. We'll have meetings set up that ACSCAN has set up ahead of time for us, and we'll have some events up there that'll be helpful for the volunteers after the event. That'll help educate them on coming home and doing some follow-ups on our advocacy.
That's September 12th through the 15th. We'll have you guys back on to do a follow-up to find out what you guys learned and how effective this all was. We appreciate your time.
I'm glad that Tim was here because of the allergy attack there. I really apologize for that. But
it happens. It's live television.
It's fall in St. Louis. Who knew?
Well, thank you guys. Tim, thanks so much for what
Thanks,
you
Randy.
do for Missouri and the community. Karen, same to you. Thank you so much. We
Thanks,
appreciate
Randy.
it.
Thanks, Randy.
Thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate your time here watching News 20 on GTN. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.